Let's talk about the New Orleans Pelicans for this upcoming season. Where is the value? Who is undervalued, overvalued? Who do we pay attention to? The stars, the breakouts, it's all coming up. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I'll have 20 cents worth of mixed lollies, please. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Few spots left for Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, Linktree/LOFB Bowl. Join up when it fills. About 10 spots left. We will release some more, maybe another points league. If you do want another points league, Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, can you please drop it in the comments? Because it's 120 people per league. We've got over 1,000 teams going through at the moment. So if you do want another one, let me know and I'll open it. But I don't want to be there and 30 people are only units. So if you are watching this and you want a spot in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl points league, drop it. Or category league, drop it as well. And we'll see what we do with that. Auction leagues will come up this week at some point. Also, you can enter the FBI Fantasy Basketball World Cup. That is a worldwide tournament that lasts, well, it's been going on for years. 12-team leagues, 14-man rosters, pretty standard settings. There is multiple redrafts during different phases of the season as well. And all the entry information for that, for the guys at FBI Basketball, all the entry information, I'll try again, registration forms. The link to that is in the description on audio and on the video side. So if you want to join the FBI World Cup, a different sort of fantasy basketball tournament, there's a Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl as well. You can join all of those. Click the link in the description of this video or of this podcast to join into those leagues. We are here talking about your New Orleans Pelicans for this upcoming season, and I'll preface this because there's an overriding stink on this team. Everything that I'm going to say about this team has to be prefaced with this. They have the worst front office in recent memory. Troy Weaver has been a disaster. And from all reports, he is calling the shots. Why you would give him another job, I have no idea. He is calling the shots in New Orleans. Joe Dumars has not been involved in basketball operations for a team for years. And the previous times that he was the last little run in Detroit, which was terrible. He's been working with the league office. They didn't do any sort of extensive search for their front office grouping. Gail Benson knew Joe Dumars, brought him in. He knew Troy Weaver, brought him in. And it's bad. They do not have control of their first round pick next season because they made one of the worst trades you will see. So everything about this team makes no sense. But if you think they're going to be bad, and I do, they have no reason to tank because they will be giving up a very high pick to the Atlanta Hawks. So we must put that into our mind. Look, they might just be terrible, not as bad as other teams who've got more incentive, but they are going to be bad. I'm very confident of that. And I'm not convinced that anybody in that front office, at least the two decision makers, have any idea how to build a real NBA team. I would love to be proven wrong. But Troy has proven me correct for years and years and years. So we'll see. But all of that hangs over this franchise like a gigantic stink. It is one of the biggest turd clouds you will see in professional sports at the moment. In saying that, let's take a look at their projected rotation for the upcoming season. I'm not including Dejounte Murray in this list because he will not be available. He will return at some point. There is some talk of him returning in January. He tore his Achilles at the end of January, start of February, around that area. And he could be back in January. But he also had some outspoken comments about the somewhat, lack of professionalism of the franchise and training staff, and there seemed to be conflict between them. So I don't know what his mindset is, but he's just not going to be there to start the season. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. This is what I think they're going to do. And 4 of these guys, I'm 100% confident they are going to start. Jordan Poole, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion Williamson, and I think it will be Eve Misi. But I don't know. It might not be. It might be, ready? That's reference 1. An unbelievable, why did you sign Kevon Looney in free agency moment? Maybe it's Looney. Or maybe it's the guy that you gave away the unprotected first round pick for in the blizzard himself, Derek Queen. Again, I just don't think they know what wins in the NBA or what makes sense with the players they've got on the team. Because every one of those centers makes no sense. None at all. So, I at this point, I'll go with the incumbent Eve Misi, who I don't think is a particularly strong NBA starting center, even though he's only year 2 and there is room to improve. But I don't think he's that good. The rest of the rotation, it's a weird team. There's Jose Alvarado, plus the guy they picked at number 7, Jeremiah Fears, who I think is my prediction, first 3 months, to be the worst player in the entire NBA. Because he's a rookie point guard who is incredibly young, on a bad team, who has all the traits to be terrible early on. But how do those two work together? Then you've got, this guy, he's back, the depressed penis, Sadiq Bey. Troy Weaver brings him from Detroit, brings him to Washington for his 1 year stop there. Doesn't play in Washington at all, and now brings him to New Orleans. Cool. Thanks, Troy. There is Derek Queen in that group. Jordan Hawkins, who I'm not sure he's going to be in the rotation, to be honest, but I'll put him there. The other one is Kevon Looney. You'll notice that there are 2 point guards in that 5-man bench group, Alvarado and Fears. There are 2 centers in Queen and Looney. This team is bad. They have the structure of this team does not make a lot of sense. And that's not even including Dejounte Murray into that mix, who will come back, I'm guessing, at some point, and there'll be things to discuss. And that's going to impact everybody on this team when he does return. Again, I'll talk more about Dejounte later on. So, later on. I'll talk about it now. What are the questions on this team? What are we looking at? What's one of the major issues with the projections? Well, it is what happens, or more to the point, when does Dejounte Murray come back? Because it changes everything. Now, Murray was who the Pelicans got last season in their trade for Dyson Daniels, or when they traded away Dyson Daniels, as well as a first-round pick in that deal. And Murray started out, broke his hand early on, came back, tore his Achilles, and in the interim was terrible for the most part. He had a 27 usage. He played 33 minutes. His head-to-head rankings and points league rankings were okay, but he shot under 30% from 3. He was under 40% from the field. He averaged 7.5 assists with 2 steals and 6.5 rebounds, but his on-court impact was bad. But those fantasy numbers are pretty good for Dejounte Murray. But I don't think, with the acquisition of Jordan Poole, with what this team is doing, with Jeremiah Fears being drafted, with Dejounte coming back from an Achilles and will be rested on back-to-backs and have limited minutes for a period of time, I don't think there's any real reason to be prioritizing drafting him. If you are in a daily changes league, holding an IL slot hostage until January or maybe February will hurt you. Again, if you have the mindset, and this goes with if you're drafting Kyrie or you decide that you think Jason Tatum's coming back. If you do that, I believe you have to have the mindset that you will say to yourself, as soon as I get into a situation where I need that IL slot, I will drop that player, then do it. Draft him with your last pick. Draft Dejounte, draft Kyrie, draft Tatum if you want. Don't bother with Lillard or Halliburton. They are not coming back. VanVleet is not coming back. Again, Tatum, I don't really think he is. But if you want to draft Dejounte or Kyrie, do it with your last pick. But I believe, have the mindset, no matter how many ILs you've got, if you need that spot in a daily changes league, you have to drop that player. You don't want to be in a situation where you're just holding and playing one man down for a few weeks at a time because you think this guy's going to come back and be great, but you don't even know when. If you're in a weekly league, a games cap league, a roto league, which is games cap, then your ability to hold guys on IL is different because your bench functions more as a stashable place. So your ability to hold and stash guys in those areas is a lot easier. So that changes the calculus a little bit. What are the other projection questions on this team that we need to look at? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that Zion Williamson and his health. Zion hurt his hamstring very early in the season. He's had multiple hamstring injuries. It's not quite the same to me as multiple knee injuries with multiple knee surgeries, where I don't think that is recovering. because you can recover from multiple hamstring injuries and have some decent run of health. It's not great, though. It is worth noting that Zion played under 30 minutes down the stretch last season and absolutely cooked. He was unbelievably good. It was the best Zion we have ever seen. So I have maybe a delusional level of hope in what Zion is going to do this season, but I do understand that there is a lot of risk with his health. Because honestly, if I didn't have the repeated health issues, he'd be a first-round points league player and a second-round category league player without any question to me. But the injury makes me not do that. And of course, when Zion is out, that's a lot of shots. It probably helps the centers because they fit better, but it means more for Trey. It means more for Herb. It means a lot more for Jordan Poole. It means we get some depressed penis action. But I don't think we want to get too into Sadiq Bey. Will the Blizzard surpass Yves Missi? Now, Derek Queen is an interesting guy. He's probably a little undersized as a center. He's not really a defensive center. His shooting is somewhat of a concern, but he's a great offensive guy. He's a good post player. He's got really good offensive footwork. He's a solid, strong passer as a big man. But can't shoot, can't defend. How the hell does that go with Zion? But they spent up a lot. They obviously believe a lot in Blizzard. So will Queen get ahead of Missi? Will he be ahead of Looney? I think there'll be times when we consider him for fantasy this season, Derek, but there's no easy path to big usage and big minutes necessarily. And one of the questions is going to be how do they view development? Because like I said, they don't have a first round pick. And they've got Fears and they've got Queen. So if they want to develop Fears and Queen, that is going to make them terrible. Especially Fears. But then they don't get a pick out of it, so are they gifting the Hawks a top 3 pick? It is possible. So do they push those guys away and run out Looney because he's going to be solid? I don't know. And then, of course, Sadiq Bey, that is a question. Does Bey play 28 minutes returning from the torn ACL? He would need 32 minutes and 20-plus usage for me to even care remotely in standard leagues, and I don't think he gets that. But there's an impact there because he's a player who Troy Weaver loves for whatever reason and is an NBA experienced sixth man / starter, and that is important. So there's quite a bit of uncertainty regarding some of the guys on this team. We'll come back and talk about a little bit more about them in detail. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel. With the NFL season here, FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That is right. You place a bet, pick that bet, put $5 on it, and if it wins, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It is so easy to use the FanDuel app. It's fun. There's promotions all the time. You can get these bonus bets. You can test your sporting knowledge against your mates. NFL, NBA, baseball playoffs, NHL, WNBA playoffs. It's all there on FanDuel. Do your same game parlays, your player props, your totals, your spreads. Do all that stuff. And use your $300 bonus bets when you win that first $5 bet. So what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and to get started. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, we are talking about the New Orleans Pelicans and their upcoming season. Let's take a look at some over and undervalued guys on this team based on current ADP data and ranking data. And I do, despite the concerns on his injury, and I understand that some of you are going to be like, I do not have any trust in Zion Williamson at all. I understand that. I understand why you would say that. I am not a person. Some would say that just as a general rule. I'm not a person who is this random freak. But I am not somebody who's like, oh, he burnt me in the past, never again. I think that's a terrible way of looking at fantasy because you're just ruling out situations without considering any context around them. Guy burnt me last year. Oh, well, who cares? Right? It's like holding a personal grudge against somebody who doesn't know you exist. What's the point? But I understand that some people will do that. I understand that Zion does not have a strong track record of health, but it is worth mentioning because it will get mentioned. Oh, he's never going to play 70 games. He has. He has played a full season. I'm not suggesting that means that he will, but I am suggesting that it doesn't guarantee that he won't because we've seen this happen all the time. 2 years ago, Zion played 70 games and played 32 minutes a game in the 23-24 season, not that long ago. Literally 1 season ago. He played 30 games last season, and that was obviously not great. And he's had a whole missed season in there as well. But at the moment, we're talking about a situation where Zion is at like ADP of 50 on Yahoo, 60 on Fantrax. He's ranked 71st for ESPN categories. For points, he's at 28. But this is a top 10 per game points league player. This is a top 15 category per game player for head-to-head categories. For Roto, a little bit different. Right? His free throws aren't good. We know that. Might as well just bring the old Zion screen up so you can take a look at some of his stats. He's not a great free throw shooter, but what he is able to do, the things that Zion Williamson is able to do, are incredibly valuable. I also don't think they're going to keep him at under 29 minutes a game, which is what they did last season. And he was unbelievably valuable. He had 34 usage. He was 14th in points per game, fantasy points per game, in 29 minutes. He averaged 25 and 7 with over 5 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1 block, which was part of the appeal of Zion coming out of Duke. He shot 57 from the field, and that could honestly go higher. Yeah, he doesn't hit threes. His free throws are bad. I know all this. But points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, and field goal percentage is a bloody good 6-category combination. And in points leagues, he rolled 45 fantasy points in 29 minutes. So, I say all of this to say, if you're looking at Zion at 71 on ESPN or 49 on Yahoo or 60 on Fantrax, I'm good with that. Yes, there is a risk. What if he plays 30 games? What if he plays 65? Then that is a league-winning type of move. I would not want to pair him with him, then take Kawhi, then I'll take LaMelo, and I'll take Embiid. Like there's too many risk factors associated with those guys altogether. But Zion is being undervalued. I also think that we're a little bit under on Herb Jones. And as a general rule, I'm not a big Herb Jones guy for fantasy, for category leagues especially. Well, that's not true. For points leagues, he's not as good. He's like a top 140 guy. You don't need to worry that much about Herb in category leagues. But in points leagues. In category leagues, there has been times where Herb has been incredibly overvalued. You know the 9-cat algorithm. Oh, he's got 0.5 turnovers, therefore he's the top 40 player. Not really. But now he sits at a rank of 147. He's got an ADP of 140 on ESPN. Now he's ranked at 103 on ESPN categories, which is about right. He's a good steals guy. He's improved his free throws and he's shooting a lot. Blocks shots out of position, not a bad rebounder. I'm not sure if there's evolution in usage for Herb Jones. But at the moment, like where he sits at 147 on Yahoo and 155 on Fantrax, like that's suggesting that people just won't draft him, which is silly. Yeah, he missed a lot of time last season, but also don't care. Who cares? He will be back. He is healthy. He will start. So to me, he's just being sort of disregarded a little bit. And in the past, I have not been a Herb Jones guy. But to me, that's just too low. If I want to look at some undervalued guys, I'm going to go to the guy that's so often compared with or paired with in discussions with Herb Jones, and that's Trey Murphy. They came into the league about the same time. They play similar positions, different games, obviously. Now, Trey is someone that I've heard some hyperbolic statements about Trey Murphy this season. I loved Trey Murphy in the draft. I liked him a lot as a rookie. I liked him last season a lot. But often at times, the pendulum of hype, which is a great name for a band or a fantasy team, swings too far for me. I've heard people say that Trey Murphy is the Pelicans' best player. And I'm like, don't know about that. That seems a little bit too much to me. I don't agree with that, like at all. But Trey is good. Like, don't get me wrong. I really like Trey. But for example, he's ranked at 37 for Yahoo. Okay. In category leagues, I can understand why you might consider that. But also, we have seen when the team is relatively complete, that Trey sometimes struggles to do enough. Sure, when players are out, he'll play 37 minutes and he'll have big usage and he'll score really well. Like last season, he was 29th in category leagues per game. He played 35 minutes a night before he hurt his shoulder. He was 55th, though, in points leagues. And that is with him playing basically all of those games without Zion. Remember, he got hurt, and then Zion came back and did his damage. So, will Trey maintain 23 usage? Will he play 35 minutes? He could. But even in that scenario, which you might consider is almost ideal, he was not a top 50 points league guy. He averaged 21, 5, and 3, which these are all good numbers. And his shooting numbers did dip a little bit, and if he's playing with Zion, that can come up. But if you're looking at him as a third-round guy, which a rank of 37 is about that area, there's no real evidence to suggest that's what he'll be able to do. Now, of course, Trey Murphy's ADP on ESPN for God knows what reason is 113. Like, you can figure that shit out. Then I don't know. That makes no sense. Right? That is craziness to me. To me, for a category leagues around a 50 mark, that's fine. Go into the 40s if you want to, no problem. But for points leagues, he is overvalued, especially for Yahoo. And while 2 years ago I was incredibly wrong about Jordan Poole, last season I was like, let's get back onto the Poole bandwagon. I was right on Jordan Poole. This season, I'm a little bit all over the place. Poole is going to start. I'm guessing. The worry there is that Dejounte returns and he pushes Poole to the side. Now, someone left a comment on one of my videos saying Jordan Poole's never going to come off the bench. I don't think that's true. He came off the bench for the Wizards 2 years ago and he played his entire career in Golden State basically off the bench. I would also make the argument, now don't tell anyone this, I wouldn't say it's crazy that Jordan Poole is a better player than Dejounte Murray at times. I know that Jordan Poole gets a lot of hate. But I think that there is a weird narrative around him that doesn't 100% reflect reality. Poole was 53rd last season, 77th in points leagues. He had 30 usage, but also he played only 29 minutes. And I would expect that he plays more than that for New Orleans. But he was only 77th in points leagues. So Poole sits with an ESPN category rank or ESPN or Yahoo ranking of 69, giggity, an ESPN points ranking of 65. And I think that that's a little high. I think he's in the 80s for points leagues, and he might beat the number early, but it might fade away a little bit when Dejounte returns. Now, of course, a lot can change. What if Dejounte returns and then Zion and Trey are both out, and then he's still doing what he does? I get it, but there's not, like, if you're taking him at 60, he needs to be much better than he was last season in a points league for that to really register. Category league's different story, right? I'm very strong with taking Jordan Poole in the, 50s, 60s, that's fine. I'm okay with that. And he'll probably be a top 50 guy early in the year and might fade back a little bit. He shot 38 from 3 last season. Again, there's an idea that he's this terrible three-point shooter. He just chucks up shots. 38's very good. His free throws have been elite for a long time. His steals were actually up last season. I'm a bit skeptical on those. But he's someone, again, that I think there's a little bit of bias against Jordan Poole for some stuff that we have seen, obviously, but I think that his season last season was actually quite mature and significantly improved. And we'll see what they do with him this season, but yeah, he's a tough one in a points league given where he's positioned, but in category leagues, I'm in on it. I'll come back and talk about breakouts and injuries and new arrivals, all that stuff. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's the most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The Peloton IQ system gives you real-time strength coaching. It tells you what to do. Checks your form, looks at the weights you're using, checks your reps, tracks your reps, makes every rep safer and smarter for that weight training and cross-training. Obviously, the swivel screen is a game changer. It can take you from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat. Plus, you get the personalized class recommendations as well. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Okay, so we are talking New Orleans Pelicans here and their season ahead and some of the decisions and pitfalls regarding drafting their guys in terms of looking at guys with star upside. And by that, I clarified it's just top 50. It's Zion, it's Trey Murphy, and it's Jordan Poole, the three guys that I've just spoken about. I'm very comfortable with Trey Murphy in round 4. I'm very comfortable. Let me give numbers here. For points, he is going to be well below his category number. So if you're in a category league, if you want to take Trey in the 40s, go for it. But points, I look 50s, 60s. Poole, similarly, if you want to take him in the 50s or 60s for categories and 80s for points, I'm okay with it. And then there's Zion, who is a first-round points league player and a second-round category league player if there were no injuries. So if you're in a points league and you wanted to take a flyer on Zion in round 4, absolutely do it. If you're in a category league in round 4 and probably more round 5, I'm good with doing that, depending on how your team looks. Because there's obviously risk with the recurrent hamstring problems. But there is a huge payoff. with Zion. And that is, again, it's a decision you make of how much risk you want to take on. Who else has arrived onto this team? We've talked about the Blizzard already, Derek Queen. If we see that he is ahead of Messi and Looney in preseason and he's fine with his wrist injury, if you want to take him as a late round flyer, which I did the video on that earlier today, go for it. I don't think that as a rookie big man with other guys around him and a questionable fit that it's going to make much. He's not going to be awesome for most leagues, but we consider it. Sadiq Bey arrives, hasn't played in a year. He's one of these guys. He's very Keldon Johnson-y, where he plays that forward position. Give him 34 minutes and 25 usage and he might be the 100th best player, but it's just not likely to happen unless multiple injuries happen. Jeremiah Fears was their number 7 overall pick, and you would think that with a number 7 overall pick, you'd find ways to be able to prioritize using and developing him. But of course, they won't, because they do have Dejounte Murray returning, they traded for Jordan Poole, and they don't have a draft pick to allow a guy who I think is going to be the worst player in the NBA a lot of development minutes. And Jose Alvarado is still there. Fears' numbers in Summer League outlies some of the concerns. Summer League doesn't translate everything across, obviously. But also, in college, he could not shoot threes. And he hit 18% in Summer League. He averaged 17 points with 2.5 assists. Now, the assist numbers, don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. In Summer League, it's hard to get assists because a lot of your teammates are terrible. He had 31 usage. That is part of what his game was at Oklahoma as well. But that's not possible playing on this team. With Poole, Zion, Murphy, he's not going to get to do that. He's a good free throw shooter, although that was bad in Summer League as well. He arrives. They've invested in him. He's very fast. His ability to attack the paint is impressive. But I think defensively, he's going to be terrible. I think the shooting is going to be really bad, and he is going to struggle immensely. He is very young. I think he might be the 2nd or 3rd youngest player in the entire draft. And that just is an impossible task for a point guard. He will suck. And if he doesn't, that is a huge win for him and for the Pelicans. But I think he's going to be terrible. So I would not really consider drafting him. They also, for what reason I don't know, brought over Kevon Looney to take minutes from their first round pick last season or take minutes from their first round pick this season in Derek Queen and Eve Messi. All right. Or their second round pick from a few years ago who showed some things last season in Carlo Makovic, who's just never going to play now. I don't get it. And also, pay Looney well above market rates at $6 million a year. Cool. That's a pretty smart move. Can Looney play 28 minutes? Will they want him to? Will you care? And the answer to all those things is, can he? I don't know. Will they? Don't think so. And will you care? Absolutely not. If he does start, he could just be the new Harrison Barnes, or even he could be the new Eve Messi, the starting center who you just don't care about for fantasy. And that's exactly what Messi was last season. Micah Peavy also came across in the second round of the draft. Don't expect that he is going to do anything for this upcoming season, which shouldn't be a controversial idea. I don't think there's anybody else that we need to really consider on this team. Although I realize that my second new arrival screen doesn't have the names on it that it should. So I'm just going to have to freestyle it because there are 4 other names, but for some reason it didn't update across as it needed to. But we're talking about guys that really aren't going to play much. Trey Alexander came across, who's someone I sort of like to develop into a rotation player at some point. Bryce McGowan's, Jaden Springer, and Troy Weaver special Hunter Dickinson, who I'm very convinced is not an NBA player. But these guys are not going to play until we get to, if injuries strike and whatever they're doing in March and April, we might get silly season from some of those guys. And the guys that I would want, Dickinson can put up numbers. I just think he's going to be bad. Alexander would be a somewhat interesting player to at least keep tabs on. I say this with all due skepticism, but the one guy on this team who could take a step forward, who could really improve on what I think he's going to do, is Eve Messi. I don't think he will. But when I'm scouring this roster, who's got the potential to do that? It's probably only him. Now, Messi started, I think, nearly every game last season as a rookie, as a late first-round pick. He started 67 out of 73 games. He played 27 minutes a night. The fit with him and Zion is horrendous. It's really bad. And we saw down the stretch that his minutes were getting reduced. When Zion was playing, he'd play 24 minutes or 23 minutes. He averaged 9 and 8 with 1.3 blocks on 55%. Now, if you're giving me not much else, I need 1.7 blocks. I need 60% shooting. He just wasn't useful really at all. But what if he becomes a 60% shooter, averages 1.7 blocks, and gives you a 12 and 10 double-double? Again, don't think it's possible, especially after bringing in Derek Queen and Kevon Looney. But if I had to stretch it to anyone who could maybe break out, maybe it is Messi. I think his offensive game really struggles. He's got no range at all to his shooting. Defensively, he's pretty good, but it hasn't resulted in big block numbers. Now, he is sort of relatively new to the game of basketball, but overall, he's a little stiff, and I just want him on any other team apart from pairing him with Zion Williamson. We've got a few injuries to monitor with this team. Zion was healthy at the end of last season. He missed the last games, the tanking games, but we had the multiple hamstring injuries, so I'm sure you're aware that Zion has injury problems. Trey Murphy and Herb Jones both had shoulder issues last season. It looks like they're going to both be fine for opening night, so that's a huge W. We weren't sure about Trey, but it looks like he's fine. Dejounte Murray's Achilles, January, February return, maybe it's Christmas. But again, when he comes back, it'll be limited minutes, back-to-backs off all season, I would guess. Plus, Poole, Fears, Alvarado all exist. So I would find it tough to consider Murray a draftable guy. And the last one there is Derek Queen, the Blizzard. He hurt his wrist in Summer League. Again, it's just hard to find that easy pathway and fit to get enough playing time to be useful for most of us. Now, I've sort of held this back a little bit on this team, but it is worth noting that with all this stuff that I've said, there is a bad playoff week mixed in here. They got 15 back-to-backs, which again, don't matter that much because they got 15, but the lowest team has 13. Who cares about 2? Doesn't matter. But they have a 2-game playoff week. And that is the week that begins March the 9th. So in the recommended playoffs that I suggest, that is semi-final week. Semi-final week. It is the week before Yahoo playoffs start. Yahoo default starts. So it might not matter. But if I am making a decision in a league with playoffs, a head-to-head league with playoffs, it would weigh on my call on Trey and on Zion. But these are not players that you're picking in round 1 or round 2, and in most cases, round 3. And that is usually where I'm going to focus on 2-game playoff week players and where I would make decisions to not take them. Now, Zion is a first-round upside guy. So if I am taking him in round 4, pairing that with the injury risk, I don't love that idea that he's only got 2 games. But again, the fact that I think I'm getting him outside the top 50 in a lot of spots, Zion, sort of nullifies that risk associated with it. Like Zion, for example, is going at ADP 49, meaning that that's an average, you can get him outside the top 50. And even if he is a first-round guy, if I've spent my 5th pick on him or my 6th pick on him, and he plays 2 games in my semi-final, and maybe he gives me 90 fantasy points, okay, who else was I taking in round 5 or 6 that is giving me, like, I could find someone with a 3-game week that gives me 90, that has 30 points a game. That's in that area. That's okay. But also, Zion would have outpaced them by a significant amount during the season. But it is not without consequence, that 2-game week. It's not something that you can ignore. It is important. And that's the Pelicans. We just have a bit of a run through with it. Zion, again, first round upside, but too many risk factors. Round 4, round 5, round 6. Trey Murphy, perhaps overrated in some spots, although the ESPN ADP at 113 makes 0 sense. But yeah, if he's a round 4 guy or round 6 for points leagues, I get it. Jordan Poole's probably a round 6-7 guy who is probably going to taper a little bit as the season goes on. Herb Jones, really good value towards the end of drafts. Dejounte, it's got to be a stashable format to draft him. And then like Messi and Queen and Bay and Fears and Looney, we're talking deeper league stuff for these guys. You can take a flyer on Messi in a 12 and see what happens. You might really believe in Queen, that he's going to get the starting spot and take him in the last rounds. Again, they're throwaway picks. And if you truly believe that he's going to get 28 minutes, you take the chance on it. I don't believe it, but you might, and we can all be right or wrong in different areas. So that's where you try that stuff out. And it's hard to be critical of those sort of decisions. Don't forget, Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl, Linktree/LOFB Bowl, QR on the screen, links in the description, as well as the links for the FBI Fantasy World Cup. So join those up. Hit the subscribe button if you are on YouTube and on audio. Thumb it up, leave your comments down below, and remember the hype. If you're on the YouTube mobile app, scroll across on the comments section, find the hype button, and bang it. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.